You live in the most beautiful city on earth. A city so rich, so powerful, so breathtaking that travelers who visit it weep, not from sadness, but from sheer overwhelming wonder. Your walls are 40 feet high. Your army numbers in the hundreds of thousands. Your scholars, your poets, your architects, they are the finest minds alive. The world calls your home the face of the earth. And then one morning, you climb to the top of those great walls. You look toward the horizon, and the horizon is moving. Not clouds, not a sandstorm, not a mirage. Warriors. Tens of thousands of them, then hundreds of thousands. An ocean of horsemen stretching as far as the human eye can see in every direction, north, south, east, west, completely surrounding your city. Their faces are painted. Their horses don't make a sound until suddenly, all at once they do. And the ground beneath your feet begins to tremble. You have 3 days to live. This is Samarkand, 1220. And what happens in the next 72 hours will not just destroy a city. It will shatter an entire civilization, redirect the course of world history, and stand for 8 centuries as the most brutal demonstration of total war the ancient world ever witnessed.
The world before the fire. To truly feel the weight of what happened at Samarkand, you need to understand what existed before the storm arrived. The Khwarazmian Empire in 1220 was one of the most powerful states on the planet. Shah Muhammad II controlled a domain stretching from the Caspian Sea through modern Iran, Afghanistan, and deep into Central Asia. His treasury was overflowing. His armies were enormous. Some estimates put his total military strength at over 400,000 soldiers. His advisors and court poets called him the Second Alexander the Great. He believed every word of it, and Samarkand was his crown jewel. Sitting at the absolute heart of the Silk Road, the ancient trade highway threading China to Europe, Samarkand was the kind of city that existed only once in a civilization's lifetime. Merchants arrived daily carrying Chinese porcelain, Indian spices, Roman glass, Afghan lapis lazuli, and Persian carpets so fine they looked like painted water. The bazaars never closed. The minarets touched the clouds. The libraries held manuscripts preserving centuries of Greek philosophy, Islamic science, Persian poetry, and medical knowledge that the rest of the world had already forgotten. The population hovered somewhere near 1 million people. This was not just a city. This was the beating heart of a civilization at its absolute peak. And then Genghis Khan sent a trade caravan, 450 merchants, gifts, a peace offering. An olive branch extended from one powerful ruler to another. Shah Muhammad had every single one of them executed. He stripped their goods, had their heads removed, and sent the bodies back as a message. He reportedly called Genghis Khan a primitive nomad, a man beneath contempt, beneath diplomacy, beneath acknowledgement. That single decision, that one catastrophic act of arrogance, set in motion a chain of events that would kill millions of people, erase entire cities from the map, and haunt the Islamic world for generations. The machine awakens. Genghis Khan did not react with rage. He did not storm off immediately in fury. He was far too dangerous for that. He prayed. He fasted for 3 days on a mountaintop, and then he built a plan so precise, so patient, and so devastating that military historians still study it 800 years later. By 1219, the Mongol war machine was fully mobilized. The army Genghis assembled for this campaign was the largest force he had ever commanded. Somewhere between 100,000 and 200,000 elite warriors, supported by Chinese siege engineers, Persian translators, intelligence operatives who had already mapped the Khwarazmian road systems, and a psychological warfare operation so sophisticated it would terrify modern strategists. The Mongol strategy was always built on 3 pillars. Speed, move faster than your enemy can think. Terror, let your reputation do the fighting before your army arrives. And precision, never waste a single soldier or a single arrow. Every action serves the final outcome. Before a single blade was drawn near Samarkand, Genghis sent multiple columns simultaneously across an enormous front. One force under his sons Chagatai and Ogadai struck the fortress city of Otrar. the city where the massacre of his merchants had originated. The siege took 5 months. When it finally fell, the governor responsible for executing the caravan was brought before the Mongol commanders and executed by having molten silver poured directly into his eyes and ears. The Mongols never forgot. They never forgave. And they made sure everyone knew it. Meanwhile, a separate column under his greatest general Jebe performed something almost impossible. A flanking march through terrain the Khwarazmian commanders believed was completely impassable. Shah Muhammad's entire defensive strategy depended on knowing where the Mongols would come from. Genghis shattered that strategy by coming from everywhere at once. And then, the move that broke the Shah's mind entirely, Genghis Khan personally led a force through the Kizilkum Desert. A desert, in winter, with a full army. It was not supposed to be possible. When this force emerged behind Khwarazmian lines, appearing between the Shah and his own capital like a ghost, Muhammad II panicked. His defensive strategy collapsed overnight. Instead of concentrating his enormous army to meet the Mongols in open battle, he scattered his forces across dozens of garrisons, trying to defend everything simultaneously, which meant he effectively defended nothing. Samarkand. The 72 hours. By February of 1220, Samarkand was surrounded. The city's garrison numbered somewhere between 50,000 and 110,000 soldiers. The walls were formidable. The supplies were substantial. On paper, Samarkand should have been able to hold for months, maybe longer. It lasted 3 days. The psychological terror the Mongols had carefully engineered across months of campaigning had done its work. The population had heard what happened at Otrar. They had heard about the cities that burned. They had heard the stories, and those stories were designed to be heard, spread, and believed. When the Mongol forces encircled Samarkand in total, sealing every road, every gate, every escape route, the defenders on those 40-foot walls looked out and saw something that broke something fundamental inside of them. There was no horizon anymore, just Mongols. A large portion of the Turkish garrison attempted a sortie, riding out to meet the Mongols in open battle rather than wait to be besieged. The Mongols did what they always did. They retreated, drawing the cavalry forward, stretching the formation, separating the units, and then they closed the trap. The sortie force was annihilated almost entirely. The remaining defenders surrendered. Genghis Khan rode into Samarkand and went directly to its greatest mosque. He asked if it was the palace of the Shah. When told it was the house of God, he reportedly said that God had delivered this place to him as punishment for the Shah's sins, and he ordered his horses stabled inside it. Whether the story is perfectly accurate or not, it captures something true about the Mongol conquest. This was not merely military victory. This was a symbolic, total, civilizational erasure. The population that cooperated was largely spared, but the city's craftsmen, engineers, and scholars were immediately deported east to serve the Mongol Empire. The soldiers who had resisted were executed. The fortifications were demolished, so no future garrison could ever use them. Samarkand, the crown of the Islamic world, the jewel of the Silk Road, the city of 1,000,000 souls, was hollowed out within days. The aftermath. What followed Samarkand was a campaign of destruction so thorough that the Persian world would not recover for 2 full centuries. Merv, once the largest city on earth, was destroyed. Nishapur was leveled. The great irrigation systems that had turned Central Asian desert into farmland for 1,000 years were wrecked, and much of that land never recovered its agricultural capacity at all. Historians estimate the Mongol invasion of Persia and Central Asia killed somewhere between 10 and 15 million people. Some regional estimates go higher. Entire regions went from densely populated centers of learning and commerce to empty grassland within a single decade. The Islamic Golden Age, the extraordinary centuries of scientific, philosophical, and artistic achievements centered in these very cities, was severed at its roots. Libraries burned, scholars died, the knowledge chain broke, and it all began with one Shah's arrogance, one merchant caravan, and 3 days in Samarkand. The Mongols didn't just win a battle in 1220, they ended a world.